you doing? This is Coffee Break with Jimmy. Trump left after the fight there in at the White House, and of course we found out some more stuff that I guess there were some characters that were trying to shoot some drones over the top of the White House, over the top of the White House grounds. They had other guys that were actually going to cause chaos, or people going to run from the White House, but apparently the FBI got wind of it. Some guy's mother, there was some guy who was part of this group, and this group extended from Ohio. There was some out of other states, as far west as California, where these people are planning on some kind of an assassination or cause chaos on the White House lawns there at the UFC fights there. We found this out. Actually, I found this out last night, in the middle of last night, when they were talking about the G7. But that's what I was thinking. I mean, the G7. What is President Trump doing at the G7? Okay, you got Great Britain. You got Germany. You've got Italy. You got France. You've got Japan, the United States, and Canada. These are the G7 countries. What are they going to do about Iran, and what are they going to do about Ukraine? I mean, those are the two major conflicts that are going on right now. But as far as Iran goes, apparently they sent Trump a memorandum of understanding to where they're going to capitulate to some things. Apparently now that they said at one time, someone said that the United States was going to give them some money, some funds for help rebuilding or for to help the country out. But that money is not going to be coming from the United States. And Qatar is actually kind of the go-between as far as the money goes. The money is frozen in Qatar, in banks in Qatar. Now I don't know how much money, if they're going to give any money at all to Iran. But this memorandum of understanding, all it says is that we're going to agree about, apparently, that there's no nuclear weapons, okay? There's not going to be any nuclear weapons for Iran. This is something they've wanted from the beginning. And, but it's not for sure until, I'm not going to hold my breath, but the G7, they're the ones that are supposed to put this on. They're the ones that are supposed to push this forward. You got other countries there in the Middle East. Of course, you got Qatar, Bahrain, UAE, Oman, and Yemen. These are all countries around Saudi Arabia, around Israel, and of course, there's another thing. Lebanon. They still got Hezbollah in Lebanon that's firing into Israel. That's supposed to be a ceasefire. But Israel has a right to defend themselves. Although Trump says you got to stop firing on Lebanon, but Hezbollah keeps firing at Israel. So what are they supposed to do? They're supposed to defend themselves. So I don't understand what this memorandum of understanding is. I don't know if it's going to go anywhere. They said something about there's going to be a 60-day pause to where they're going to work things out. I mean, it's pretty simple to me that things are going to have to work out. Iran cannot have nuclear weapons. I believe, and they're saying it, that they're saying we're not going to do this, to have a regime change. The mullahs, as long as they're in charge, whether they're the ones that the group that the leadership was annihilated on the first start of this. And then they had another group. This is the third group of mullahs that are actually in charge. They say they're smarter. They know more about what they're doing. I don't know if they have IRGC, if they're going to be in charge of them. And that's actually the boots on the ground there in Iran. I think, and I don't think this is needed, or not wanted, rather, but I think it's needed, excuse me. We're going to have to put boots on the ground to get rid of the IRGC, to get rid of their leadership, the regime there. Now, I'm sure there's a certain percentage of people there in Iran that believe in this, that believe this has to be, they still want to get rid of the United States and Israel. They still want nuclear weapons. And I mean, that's the whole purpose of it. For the last 47 years, they wanted nuclear weapons to wipe out the West, wipe out the United States, and wipe out Israel. And if they get the missiles that they're able to carry a nuclear, well, they can still carry a nuclear weapon right now into Europe. And that's why I think the G7 is, because most of the countries that are part of the G7 is European countries. I just named them, and Britain, France, Germany, Italy. The majority of the countries of the G7. There's 4 of them there. And apparently they're going to help out the U.S. there in the Strait of Hormuz. Something. They're supposed to do something. I don't know. That's why I said this memorandum of understanding isn't clear. There isn't anything that isn't clear. But the one thing that I believe isn't clear, they're not going to have a regime change. And that's what Iran wants more than anything. The people of Iran. In fact, they had a gal on the news this morning that she's from Los Angeles, where it has the biggest group of Iranians, or Persians, she says, Persians, that live in Los Angeles outside of Iran. And she says they want to be able to travel back and forth to go see family, go back to Iran because they're from Iran. Some of them want to live back there. Some just want to go back to visit. But they can't do that right now because they're kept from that. So I don't understand what they're going to sign on Friday. This was supposed to be Friday when President Trump's supposed to sign this. So, I mean, let's look at the Ukraine. The Ukraine, nothing's. I guess they've been fighting back and they're holding their own. The Ukraine are, but and they're fighting back. I guess they hit a power plant there inside of Russia. And Russia, they want land. They want part of Ukraine. They think that's part of Russia. And the G7 believe they shouldn't get any property, any land of the Ukraine should go to Russia. And so that's what is it? They already got Crimea, right? And so that happened during the Obama administration. So we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen with this memorandum of understanding, because I really don't know. It's just kind of up in the air about everything. And I'm glad they thwarted that attack, apparently. There's some people that were going to attack the UFC at the White House. And Trump was there, and all his family was there. He had military was there. Some of his friends and family was there. And so I guess they're going to try to cause some kind of chaos. They're going to shoot some drones over the top, and the drones are supposed to drop something, maybe some kind of explosives to cause chaos. And that's what they were wanting. But that was thwarted. The FBI stepped in because of some brave mother that actually turned her son in because she thought her son was acting kind of strange. And so she turned him in because he had bought a bunch of weapons and much of ammunition. And so she contacted authorities, and that's how they found out about this. Now, I don't know how long they've known about it, but that's how they found out about it. So all this was actually brought to my attention last night. I was watching news last night. That's when I first saw it for the first time. And apparently Trump and President Trump and Vice President Vance didn't know anything that was going on. So we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see how this is going to turn out on Friday, this memorandum of understanding, and to see if they're going to say, because I don't trust the regime there in Iran. I don't trust them. They keep kicking the can down the road. Now they're wanting, okay, we're going to open up the Strait of Hormuz. That's going to drop because they're going to be selling oil to China. They're going to be selling oil to India. Other countries are going to be getting oil. They'll be able to sell some oil. They'll be able to make some money there to keep their country alive and to feed people. I mean, they need money. But so the Strait of Hormuz is going to be opened up, and they're going to have other ships that are going to be shipping from other countries. They're Kuwait and so on and so forth. And of course, oil comes out of Kuwait too. But there's all goods and services going to be shipped out of the Strait of Hormuz from other countries there and shipped in. So they're going to stop the blockade. But that's going to be temporary, and just, I don't know if it's temporary. It's just going to let it open a little bit. They're going to do some mine sweeping to sweep the strait there to see if there's any floating mines there. I guess they have minesweepers that can find this stuff. So so we're gonna have to wait and see. I mean, it's still there's nothing really set in stone of what's going to happen. You know, what's going to be the future of that? What's going to be the future? I mean, Ukraine is still in. I mean, Ukraine's been going on now for what, 3 or 4 years, and it's still going. So what's going to happen with Iran? The regime they got to have a regime change there in Iran. Everybody knows that, or at least most people feel that way. So I guess we'll wait and see what happens there. And hopefully this G7, this meeting with these countries in the G7, they're going to get something done. And we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, this is Coffee Break with Jimmy. Please subscribe, press the like button and share. And please comment on what I have to say. And I mean, I don't know everything, but I do know this. I still think we're just, there's nothing happening yet. There's nothing firm, nothing signed yet. So we have to wait and see what this Memorandum of Understanding means. So let's Coffee Break with Jimmy. Please subscribe and hit that notification bell and share and press the like button. And I'll see you next time. Thanks.